Ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Councilman Martina, please.
Would you please bow your heads? Dear Lord, we thank you for bringing everyone here tonight. We ask that you give this council the wisdom and the strength to do the right things for this great city of Newman. This we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Bob. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Davis.
Present.
Hutchins.
Present.
Candia.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martina.
Present.
Mayor Caden.
Present. Thank you. Item 5, declaration of conflicts of interest. Seeing none, we'll go to item 6, ceremonial matters. We don't have any. We'll go to item 7, items from the public, non-agenda items. Any member of the public wish to address the council, now would be time to do it. Seeing none, we'll go to item 8, consent calendar. A, waive all readings of ordinances and resolutions except by title. B is approval of the warrants. C is approval of the minutes of the January 14th, 2014 meeting.
So moved.
There's a motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9 is public hearing. A, second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2014, next in number, ordinance amending Title 11, Public Ways and Property, adding Chapter 11.120, Storm Water Management and Discharge Control to the Newman City Code, complying with the NPDES Phase 2 permit effective March 1, 2014, and authorize staff to publish a summary of said ordinance. Soon. It's yours.
Good evening, City Mayor and City Council members. As I provided on presentation last council meeting, is regarding the requirement for the new Phase 2 stormwater permit. This is the first step to comply with all the requirement for the City of Newman. So as I provided the presentation last time, this is a hierarchies kind of structure of the new permit, where we are at. So this policy and the guidance, that is for the City of Newman, but the requirement came from the Clean Water Act and the EPA and NPDES permit requirements. So this is a part of overall the structures to comply with the new permit. So once we adopt this ordinance, so next time the city staff come to the council for these items, approval, low impact development ordinances, stormwater development standard plans, and public outreach education programs, update CCID agreement. So this is a part of the FEMA CRS the program as well. So this ordinance will allow us to implement a lot of good application for the city of Newman. That's all I have.
I'm sorry. I was any questions or comments before I open the public hearing? Seeing none, public hearing is now open. Anybody wish to address council? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council for direction.
I so move that we approve the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2014, next number, amending Title 11, Public Ways and Property, adding Chapter 11.12, Stormwater Management and Discharge Control to the Newman City Code, complying with NPDES Phase 2 Stormwater Permit effective March 1st, 2014, and authorize staff to publish a summary of said ordinance.
Second the motion.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're item 10, regular business. A is adopt resolution 2014, next in number, resolution adopting building permit fees. Michael. The other mic.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. This is a report on a proposed change to the building permit fee schedule to utilize a cost per square foot multiplier. The City of Newman Building Department permit fee schedule originated from the 97 Uniform Code and the 97 Uniform Administrative Code fee schedules. These codes mandate a fee calculation method that is cumbersome and not always reflective of services. The new 2013 California Building Code allows for fees to be paid as required in accordance with the fee schedule as established by the applicable governing authority, giving the city the opportunity to revise the fee calculation method in order to allow for an easier calculation by staff and customers, enable the public to calculate fees online, representing the first phase and providing a more efficient process in establishing a foundation for future electronic permit submittals, and allow builders, contractors, and homeowners more accurate prediction of permit fees. The fees are currently determined by a complex equation computed throughout the permitting process. The fee calculation is initiated by using the valuation of the project and comparing that figure to the valuation tables within the fee structures in Table 3A. That base permit fee is a result of a portion of the total valuation. The remaining portion of the total valuation is multiplied in increments to a set multiplier, then added to the base permit fee, establishing a building structure permit fee. Added to this is a plan review fee, which is established by a percentage ranging from 25 to 65% of the building permit fee. Finally, after the plan is approved and staff determines the actual building permit fee by counting all the individual plumbing, mechanical, electrical fixtures. The proposed cost per square foot multiplier was established by determining the average building permit fee by permit type from historic data over the past 5 years and current costs for delivering of service. The proposed fee schedule reflects an all-inclusive charge based on the total fees charged under the current system. For example, a permit for a 2,000 square foot house would use a multiplier of 95 cents per square foot. Furthermore, when compared to the old method, the results are very similar. Fee determination using this method is faster, easier to understand, and predictable over time. And for projects do not include a square foot multiplier like a water heater changeout, a cost recovery method is used. Currently, building department fees are adjusted annually based on the consumer price index for our region. The new method will also be adjusted annually with the regional CPI. This will allow developers, engineers, and builders to more accurately predict future costs and to avoid large increases in fees when they are not adjusted on an annual basis. We believe that amending the building permit fee determination method to utilize a cost per square foot multiplier instead of the current system will not only simplify the permitting process, but also allow customers, property owners, and developers an easy way to calculate fees, in addition to increasing the city's cost recovery for building-related services. The proposed fee method will also enable the public to calculate fees online and establish a foundation for future online permitting submittals. Therefore, staff recommends that City Council adopt resolution number 2014, next to number, amending the billing fee schedule to utilize a cost per square foot multiplier.
Any questions for Mike? Comments? All right. Council direction?
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2014, next to number, a resolution adopting building permit fees.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mike. Item B is adopt resolution 2014, next to number, a resolution adopting the mid-year changes for fiscal year 2013-2014. Lou?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the Newman City Council. Quickly, we're going to do two things tonight. One, we'll look at our current status of our budget, and then present to you a couple of changes that we're looking for. If you look at Exhibit A of the staff report, the first section there is our general fund estimated revenues and actual revenues collected during the first half of the year. If you'll notice overall, we're at 36.3% of the revenue coming in, and with most of our revenues, they don't come in at exactly 1/12 amounts every month. We estimate right now that the ending revenues will be right around $3.6 million, which is about $83,000 under budget, or a 3% variance. Our gas tax revenues, which we use to cover our streets and roads, are doing fine. Same also with our lift station revenues. Enterprise funds, the revenues from those are coming in above our projected amounts. Now, if you turn over and look at Exhibit B has the expenditures from each of our funds. The first section there is our general fund. Currently, we're only at 44%. The majority of our expenditures come from payroll, which are pretty much broken out 1/12 amounts every month, minus any variances in hiring or firing personnel or payroll changes. But for the most part, we're only at 44%. We're projecting to end up about 3.9 million in expenditures instead of 4.1, which is about $200,000 under our budgeted expenditure amounts. And if you would scan down to the enterprise funds, if you look at both water and sewer, they're coming in well under budget. We expect those funds to do very well this year. On Exhibit C, the next two pages are the changes that we're requesting in our budget. Exhibit C, since most of our revenues are coming in at their targets or slightly below, we're not going to make any, requesting any revenue changes to those items. In Exhibit D, the only general fund changes we're requesting are increases to cover some maintenance costs in certain departments. A total of about $3,700 is all. The two major changes that we're requesting is we have a part-time position that is currently working in lift station and sewer. We'd like to convert that to a full-time position to help Lance out at the sewer plant. And also, we're looking at purchasing a police car to replace the chief's car. Actually, not a police car, but a car for him to use. On the last page, which is Exhibit E, this is a summary of all the changes and the new beginning balance that we have after we completed the audit. If you look on the general fund, originally we had budgeted in the fourth column over that we would go down $426,000. In the column next to that, we're currently projecting only a $307,000 deficit. Now, we've talked to each of the departments and given them the heads up on our current status. It's better than what we projected. We're also asking them to reduce any costs or put off any costs that they can until next year. Also, the city has made, starting 2 years ago, made some good changes in putting in a Tier 2 on our retirement. Back in 2010, we had 36 employees that were on Tier 1. We currently have 8 employees now that are on the Tier 2, which are no longer on Tier 1. Those have been employees that replaced previous ones. And we actually have 2 employees which are on Tier 3, which was implemented at the beginning of January 2013 under California State's PEPRA rules, which are even a lower cost to the city. So currently, out of all the employees that are on PERS, 27% of them are not on Tier 1, they're on Tier 2 or 3, which is a good sign that we're making that, slowly making that transition over, which saves the city money. That pretty much goes through each of the changes that we're looking at. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions or comments for Lou? Seeing none, council direction?
Just one thing it kind of has to do with our last meeting, and maybe Michael or Lou, you can either one. Based on the new housing that's going to be coming in, and with our Northwest Corridor, and I know probably mid-year we can't look at it, but one of the things that I see forthcoming after I stood in line with some of the signups for some of the youth sports is that I see a real need for a full-time recreation director very shortly down the road, because these houses that are coming in are going to be built, and they're going to probably be a lot of children involved in it, and realizing we can't look at anything right now, but I would like to see it looked at in our New Year's budget, just personally.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and evaluate that for you and bring that up as a separate line item, the cost difference between a part-time and a full-time on that. This year, I know SCM Homes, which is in the Sherman Ranch area, they recently pulled roughly 36 permits, which they think they will build this year. With respect to the Northwest Quadrant, to be honest with you, it would be optimistic to think that we would see sticks going up there any sooner than 4 or 5 years from now for that new project. But under our existing inventory, we have roughly 200 finished lots in the community that could be built out.
How about the ones that we just approved? 2 weeks ago that when we made the amendment, when are they planning on starting on those?
No
We have
sooner
any
than
idea?
6 months. He still has a lot of work to do at the Department of Real Estate because of the homeowners, the HOA, and a few other things that are going on inside that project. So, again, I think it would be optimistic to think that he would have pull any permits within the first 6 months of this calendar year, maybe the second 6 months. I think a lot of it will also play out into see how the interest rates perform over the next year. We're only now getting to a point to where the cost index and the valuations and getting pricing of resales of, that $100 per square foot mark that is a number that the building people like to see to help them plan for construction and being competitive with the resale market. I think what's going on with our neighbor to the north and the amount of jobs that are coming here on the west side, we're hoping to capture some of that as well. So we're trying to keep in conversation with the developer in Sherman Ranch to track how many he's going to build and that. So, but getting back to your point, we'll run both scenarios for you guys so you can see how that cost out, the part-time versus the full-time.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Council direction?
I so move that we adopt resolution number 2014, next number, resolution adopting the mid-year changes for fiscal year 2013, 2014.
I'll second that motion.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lou. Item C, adopt resolution 2014, next to number, resolution approving a grant application for land and water conservation funds for the Skate Plaza project and commit funds to the Skate Plaza project. Stephanie.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Before you is a resolution regarding the city's application for land and water conservation funds. In 1964, former President Johnson signed the fund into law with the intent of assisting states and local agencies in the planning, acquiring, and development of recreational land. The program is administered nationally by the National Park Service and then locally, or I should say statewide, by the Department of Parks and Recreation. A condition of this funding source is that the land improved with said funds must be kept recreational in perpetuity. Given that the Skate Plaza project is located within Lions Park, the entire park would have to be considered recreational from here on out. It's consistent with the general plan. Staff wouldn't anticipate that changing, but I do need to make that point known. The fund is an annual program that acts as a reimbursement-only type of grant. Applicants must demonstrate that they can fund their projects 100% prior to applying. The LWCF will award up to 50% of the project cost in a reimbursement. The city's Skate Plaza is eligible under this grant. Staff is proposing a grant application in the amount of $153,000, which is 50% of the project cost. In order to apply for the grant, the city must certify that we can finance 100% of said project. In order to do so, an allocation of $230,138 in park facility fees would be necessary. Please notate that the staff report erroneously lists $306. That's the total project cost. That was a typo on my part. However, staff is concerned that the city would be required to fund this project should we not be awarded the grant, so we conferred with city council, or legal counsel, and additional language was included in the resolution that would allow the city the flexibility of withdrawing that funding should we not be awarded. If awarded, we would actually be requesting an allocation of $77,138 in the park facility fund. Therefore, if the city council concurs, staff recommends an allocation of $230,138 in park facility fees and the adoption of resolution 2014 next in number approving the city's grant application. I'm happy to answer any questions, and our grant recreation coordinator is also here if you had any project-specific
What
questions.
was that number again, Stephanie?
$230,138. You can round it up to 31 if you'd like, just for the sake of change.
And I think you answered my question was, if we, would we be on hook for that?
That was a concern that staff had considered, so we spoke with Phaedra, and she mentioned the additional language. In the grant guide, it does state that we can add additional language to the resolution. However, that would potentially affect how the grant is looked at. Their legal counsel will have to approve that language in our reso, but that does protect the city. I don't know if it's clear in the staff report, but we're also asking essentially for 50% or nothing, because if we don't get 50%, it would be hard to get the project finished, because almost $200,000 of that budget is the initial concrete work. It's
Yeah,
not cheap.
I was noticing that they can go all the way down to 1%.
They can if we identify a range in our application. Since we're going to waive that range, we're just going to ask for the 50. They won't award something if it's not within our requested range. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So we don't have, and again, to reiterate what Ed was talking about, we don't have to break ground in order for them to,
It's a reimbursement type grant, which is not uncommon. For example, CDBG is much under the same process, where we spend the money up front and then we are reimbursed once we submit invoicing. It's a similar process. However, staff was not comfortable committing ourselves to the entire project cost. That's why we asked council to let us know if there's any language we could put there to protect us. And that's what that item 4 in the resolution is.
well, the thing about CDBG is it's kind of a proven item.
Yeah, this has been around since the 60s. It is a longstanding program, and we will not, it is an award for the sake of the state would award us our amount, and they award it by percentage. So for example, if our project budget goes down and it's $250, their award is 50% of whatever our actual amount is.
Any other questions or comments? Council direction? Somebody?
I make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2010, next in number, a resolution approving a grant application for land and water conservation funds for the Skate Plaza project and commit funds to the State Plaza project.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second that motion.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right.
Thank you.
Carry on. All righty, go to item D, report on potential voter-approved residential urban limit. Michael?
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, I just wanted to lead a high-level conversation with the council with respect to some Stanislaus LAFCO policy that was adopted in September 2012. That's an ag mitigation policy. When LAFCO adopted this policy, they spelled out a couple different methodologies that they felt were appropriate for cities should they desire to annex land. As you know, we are in the process of developing a master plan right now that has both residential, commercial, and business park in it. The ag mitigation only applies to the residential portion of the project in this particular case. So some of the strategies that are, once again, that LAFCO identifies as a one-to-one ag mitigation, and that can be done through literally buying land and buying conservation easements, or it can be done through a fee program. Another methodology could be a voter-approved growth boundary. Is another one. And if you go through the voter-approved growth boundary scenarios, then the ag mitigation one-to-one is not in play. And then a third one, which generally is more applicable to if you're expanding your sphere of influence, you would take other lands out of your sphere to incorporate new lands into your sphere. So with that, I'm going to, Mike, will you just pull up the first map? So this is our general plan map here. The area, we have two boundaries here that we'll talk about, and again, just for the record, this general plan was adopted in 2007, so it's still very new. The outermost line that I'm identifying here that is shown in orange is a planning area boundary. So what that does is it just basically tells Stanislaus County any land within that area the city believes has a direct impact on us, and we want to be consulted for any projects that may be incurring in the area. Then when you dial in and you start getting into the different colors there, that this line here, which is a purple line, is our what's called the secondary sphere of influence, or the sphere of influence. Stanislaus County is kind of unique in that a lot of times they ask cities to adopt a primary and a secondary sphere of influence. So our secondary is the outside line. Our primary sphere of influence is this blue line you can see here that comes down and around and up and through here, in that area. The primary sphere of influence, by design, is the area that communities identify for potential growth within the next 10 years. Currently, what we're developing is this area right here, as I outlined there. That's for the new master plan area. As you know, our sphere of influence is separated into 8 master plan areas. In this particular case, we're moving forward with that one. So with that being said, just wanted to see what the council's thoughts were, again, on putting a vote putting an initiative out for the voters. And you don't have to say whether you support it now or not, but I'm just wondering if you want us to draw up a timeline. The timeline starts shrinking as we want to get onto a November ballot. So we probably need to have some council actions that are going to take place over the next coming months and ending no later probably than June. What we anticipate as staff anyways, identifying would be utilizing our existing outside sphere of influence, the secondary sphere, which is all of the colored area. And then drafting language with our legal counsel that says that the city of Newman will contain all of its residential growth in that area for a specific number of years. And what I've done is taken the opportunity here, go ahead, Mike, to show you our current general plan identifies a build-out population of approximately 45,000 people. So what does that mean in terms of what we're going to look at? Let's just take, for instance, what we want to do on a growth rate. Growth rates do a lot of determination. If you look at it now, in about 30 years from now would be 2045. If we grew at a growth rate on average of 3%, in 2045 we would be 27,000 people. Now, our general plan, but more specifically, our infrastructure master plans utilize a 3.5% growth rate, is what we're targeting. We believe that 3.5% is a growth rate that's sustainable for the community, that we can continue to provide high level of services to them, and not only on the infrastructure wise, but public safety, recreation, and all the other services, administrative services that go with it. If you continue forward with that assumption that we've used in our master plans at 3.5%, by 2045 we would be right at 32,000 people. Now when you're using it's just over 45,000, as you can see there's about a 40% margin of safety in terms of how much additional land you would have if you exceeded your 3.5% growth rate. 4% growth rate would put us around 37,000. You would almost have to get all the way to just under a 5% growth rate to really build out your general plan by 2045. So that's a lot of years in there. So and the reason I'm kind of showing you these tables today is I want you to understand that should the council elect to go forward, there's significant amount of residential area in our general plan that would allow us to do residential growth, even if you decided to put forth a residential growth boundary. The reason why we really talk about, again, this growth boundary and just limiting it to residential is obviously you don't want to tie your hands when it comes to economic development. If we have somebody come in and let's just say northwest corner of Stir and 33 and they wanted to build what's going on at Keystone and Amazon wanted to build another spot there, our hands aren't tied if somebody wanted to bring a lot of jobs into that area. We're just saying we're going to contain our residential area. And we think we have a sufficient amount of land to move forward with the urban growth boundary. I'm not saying that a 30-year, 2045 is what I'm recommending. I just wanted to show you the different levels that are out there. So, The second methodology that some communities have used is to, and none really in, I don't think in Stanislaus County, but some in San Joaquin County, is they're adopting a ag mitigation fee, and then they turn that money over to a land trust, American Farmland Trust or other land trusts in the area, and then those trusts go out and buy easements on land. And that fee can range anywhere, I think it all depends. The challenge with the fee is obviously, LAFCO may always say, we don't think your fee's large enough, so you have to do a fee study to get that substantiated. And then sometimes the groups or the trust want additional annual compensation to manage and maintain the easements as well. So anyways, I just wanted to bring these forward and see if this is something that you want staff to map out for you and see if this was something we wanted to put forward to our constituents at this time. I can answer any questions that you may have on either of the programs that I talked about.
Questions or comments from Michael? What's council feel about what he's presented?
With the build-out, Michael, one of the concerns that no matter where we go, with any of these, is water.
Correct.
And how are we going to build into that? I mean, if we went from, even if we took the 3% in 2030, we're at 6,000 more. Are we going to still be able to rely on groundwater, or where's our break point for having to have surface water?
I understand your position on that one. They're actually two separate issues right now. No matter what we do or don't do with respect to ag mitigation, we're still going to have to manage our water resource and demonstrate how we're going to have a water supply for any future growth that we have in our community. As you know, we're doing some test holes out on the west side right now that one is shown to be very beneficial to the community in terms of the TDS level versus what our actual level is now. We just recently did a second test hole, and we are expecting those results no later probably than next week, and they'll hopefully be sharing that. And if those provide are fruitful, then we hope to move forward with a new water well and a tank that would provide water to the northwest quadrant and meet all the demands for that area over there. And again, that residential component or that master plan we're looking at, just to remind you, it's about 1,200 residential units, but it's also approximately 2,000 jobs. And we think this new well and storage tank provides the level of water supply assessment that we've done, shows that it should be able to handle the capacity there and any deficit that we may have with our existing system. So the question is, too, we're going to have to continue to answer that question, Councilman Hutchins. We're going to have to continue to answer that question, projects to projects. At this point in time, we're looking at the northwest quadrant map that we're going forward. We have found one test hole to provide a suitable water supply for that should be able to provide for that whole northwest quadrant. At some point in time, we'll have to cross the next hurdle to see if we're going to go to surface water. Surface water, and this is a good year to show that surface water has its downside as well. This would be a tough year to be getting surface water and doing the other things. So no matter what we do, we're going to need wells as backup anyways. So, if we're building this well out here, even if we went to surface water, it would not go for naught, as we would continue to have that as a backup system.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. What's the council's pleasure?
Yeah, it's just to, so you want to go forth with the utilizing of urban limit through the voter process rather than...
What I'm asking for right now from the council is permission to utilize staff time to map out the process, come up with some legal wording that could potentially serve as an initiative, bring that back to you, see if you concur, If you do, then we would initiate a process we would start the process to put an initiative on the ballot for November 2014.
Does that require a motion, Tom, or just a consensus?
I would say a motion. I mean, he's got that down as the request here.
I'll make that
I
motion.
think we
Okay, I
might
think-
have some comment.
Is there a comment? Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Got one of my business cards for everyone there. I'm John Beckman. I'm the CEO of the Building Industry Association of the Greater Valley. I represent the home builders and land developers from San Joaquin through Merced counties. And the concept of a urban limit line or urban growth boundary is something that we almost always will oppose such a move. In this case, the city of Newman is in a situation where perhaps it might be the first one we don't oppose. And I say that in looking at your map and seeing how much land you would have inside the boundary when you were to draw it. The one caveat that I would ask that you seriously take a look at is the ability to maintain your housing element. As I'm sure you're aware, your housing element has to be updated. It will soon be on an 8-year cycle, but every 8 years you have to show that you have enough land within your general plan to accommodate your regional housing needs analysis, fair share growth. And if you have an urban limit line that requires voter approval to be expanded, and there's no provision for accommodating your arena number, the voter-approved initiative, probably not in the near term, but as you get close to a point where you don't have enough within the urban limit line, I probably won't be around, but whoever's in my position or some other housing entity out there would be in a legal position to challenge your voter-approved initiative and get it possibly thrown out, or force the council at that time to make the distasteful decision of overriding a voter-approved initiative, something which happened in Tracy a few years ago. So I just want to throw that out, that keeping in mind the requirement to have a housing element in your arena fair share within the urban limit line as you get to a point where that might be a problem. If you take that into consideration, I don't believe the BIA would be too concerned about your urban limit line.
I think we're just a little bit different than Tracy.
Pardon?
I think we're a little bit different than Tracy.
Well, they didn't do a line at all. They put a hard cap number of 650 units per year.
Yeah.
And the voters approved that, and then the council had to override it. So I don't want to have to see the city council overriding a voter-approved initiative.
Thank you.
And Mayor, I thank Mr. Beckman for speaking today. We would not be proposing at this time a hard cap on the actual numbers moving forward as part of this voter initiative.
Okay. All right.
And we keep
Council for direction.
We keep a pretty close eye on our housing element anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. And I think when you look at these numbers here, 25 years is a nice round number, and I'm just throwing a dart right now. 25 years, and you look at those numbers at 25 years, even under a 5% growth, and for the last 5 years, no one's grown at 5%. You still have 39,000. You still have room underneath that. So
I hope to be around. I won't be sitting here, but I hope I'll be around for the 25 years, so, okay. All right.
I think there's a motion on the floor.
I was going to say, is there a motion?
Yes, I
I'll
move
second
that
that
we
motion.
It's been a motion.
approve
and-
staff request.
Okay, then a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And thanks for your input, John. Appreciate it. Item from 11, we can skip that because Jim's not with us. Item 12, items from city manager.
thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to let the council know it's your favorite time of the year, and no, I'm not talking about the Super Bowl, I'm talking about Form 700s. So,
Oh, we love that.
Form 700 is everybody's
You could,
favorite time of the year, so staff will be working with you to get those forms out to you so that you can fill those in. We'd like to get those back in March, correct? Yeah, so ultimately, you have to answer to the FPPC, so we're just here to try to help you to get that done in a timely manner. Just a reminder that there are basketball games still going on at Hunt Elementary and the high school on Saturday mornings. if you're interested in taking in a good basketball game. Next month, the executive director from Stancog will be here. There's, as you probably read in the newspaper, there's some talk about moving forward with a gas tax again. So he'll be coming to you, I think, on February 25th to ask you to support the countywide gas tax initiative. This initiative, again, is a half-cent sales tax with roughly 50%, I'm going to say like 46%, I think what the final number was. 46% of the money stays in your community and dealing with and repairing local roads. 46% goes to capital projects on a regional basis, and the remaining goes to transit and non-motorized. So with that, kind of leading in is this week, just yesterday, the Public Works Director and I went to Stancog and had a meeting about the South County Corridor. There's been a lot of talk about a South County Corridor, North County Corridor, and a Central Corridor. Central is 132. Now, the South County Corridor, I think there's still a little bit of discussion about what that alignment actually is. I know our neighbor to the north would like it to be Main Street to the river and then veer north to Zacharias and tie into Interstate 5 there. We, as your staff, don't necessarily subscribe to that alignment right offhand. And I think one of the reasons is when you look on a countywide basis, there really is no corridor that ties into Interstate 5, southbound traffic. 132 will feed you to the north. So if you ran the South County Corridor and you ran to Zacharias, you would really have two corridors within about 20 miles of each other, and they're feeding the Bay Area. You really have no corridor that really feeds to southbound traffic, so we're missing a market in Southern California and South Central California as well that we're not tying into. Probably a majority of the vehicles, I mean, do you go down Lander? From I-5, go through Lander and Los Banos and the wetlands and Hillmar and Stevenson to get into Stanislaus County. There's the potential that maybe that corridor could come down to Fink Road and tie in there. So we just ask that they not blindly say that this is going to Zacharias. So we got that. I think we got them to identify that a big swath of land basically between Fink and Zacharias would be the secondary alignment off of the Main Street alignment. So I think that could be a good win for us.
And I've had some conversations with Mayor Mullane about that exact topic as well.
Yeah, they're really pushing it because they just had a recent annexation over there, 1,000 acres of business park and the Aaron Bell project, and they really have no access on there. But part of it also, I think, that they're missing is there's a lot of constraints, potential constraints going that way. So you're talking about building another crossing over the Delta Mendota, the aqueduct, creating an all-new interchange on Interstate 5. There's conservation habitat corridors there for the kit fox. There's a lot of different things, constraints, environmental constraints in that small little area over there that could really draw out that project or really jack up the price on that one. So again, we're just trying to make sure that our part of the county has the potential to reap in some regional corridor capital that promotes economic development here in the southern part and the western part of Stanislaus County. So, and then also, again, the Public Works Director and Ms. Ocasio, the planner, and I went to Patterson and we met with Stanislaus County staff with respect to Crow's Landing Air Base. As you know, the county is moving forward with that particular project. They've reduced the scope of the project to the original footprint, which is something we've always supported and supported all the way through that project, and then moving forward with an EIR. So they were asking us a lot of our thoughts and questions on that one. And again, we have concerns, obviously, with traffic and the impact that would have on us, but also we are supportive of a reuse of the base as long as its original footprint is observed in this first phase. So I hope I'm consistent with what we've heard from the council all along. With that, I can answer any questions that you may have right now.
Questions or comments from Michael?
I think, Michael, that, with what you just said, if they do anything there, the South County corridor needs to be closer to Fink Road, because now you're 8 miles north if you use Main Street as a corridor, and I'm sure they're going to want to go both directions if they ever do put anything out there.
Yeah, and I think their Public Works Director for the county, Mr. Machado, indicated that Crow's Landing is actually SR 108 on paper. So they're trying to get money to study that as well. And he tried to pass that off. Well, we're already going to be studying that, but to me, it's still, I couldn't come back to our constituents and to this council and say, well, we just gave away the South County corridor and it's going north of Patterson, without at least saying, look, we're just asking that this study identify it as a potential, and the chips are going to fall where they fall. Not, we're going to start up there. If that doesn't work, we'll look somewhere else. We need to look across the whole spectrum and pick the correct route. And that's all that we're asking for, is a fair shot. So.
Okay. Anything else from? Thanks.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. Staff, Chief.
I don't have anything tonight, but I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions for the chief? Put him on the spot. No? Okay. Stephanie?
Just wanted to thank the council for approving our grant application, and that will be submitted by Monday.
Great. Lou?
Nothing tonight.
Soon, anything else?
Yes, I have one item.
Okay.
State Governor Jenny Brown declared a drought emergency on January 17, 2014, and asked to cut water use by 20%. But at this point, it's just recommendation. However, the public works staff just took a look, several options to prepare any worst scenario, because the state might announce that water conservation can be mandatory. So right now, we took a look how we irrigate the parks. So we check several parks to reduce the irrigation. So for example, we changed some irrigation time from 5 minutes to 4 minutes, which we can save up to 20%. It's not just 20% every park. It depends on the condition of irrigation system. So we are working on that. So we are also preparing kind of worst case, how to implement that types of mandatory the request from the state. So just for information. Happy to answer to any question you may have.
Any questions, comments? Well, hopefully everybody will, throughout the city, will try to cut back and use less water, and as dry as it is, but I think everybody's got to contribute, so everybody will do their best, I'm sure.
Okay.
Okay, comments from council. Don, anything?
As you know, last week, Lou and Tom and myself were at the committee meetings from the League of Cities. The governor has said that we're going to be a little over $2 billion in the black this year, but once again, he's using a very volatile mix to get there, and as I recall, we still have the $22 billion wall of debt, and as I recall, it was going to be something like $450 million is all he was going to use to lower that debt, which probably won't even cover the interest, but...
Yeah. To start off, yeah, and then eventually later on he wants to add more to it, but I don't think he'll have the revenues to.
So he's really looking optimistically at his revenues, and probably overly optimistic, but we'll see. And then I noticed, and Tom was also with me in the Transportation and Public Works, and there's going to be some interesting things coming up, and I will be putting out a report on that within a very short period of time.
Okay, thanks. Roberta?
I don't have anything.
Nick?
Nothing tonight.
Bob?
Nothing to that, Mayor.
I only have this one thing. I attended the Pinewood Derby races on the 18th, and I took a second, my first heat, took a first in my second heat, and took a third in my third heat. So I had a lot of fun with the kids, and then we did some individual races just for the heck of it, and it was a lot of fun, and the kids did a good job building their cars, and they asked me about my secret weapon I entered. And
Did you cheat?
No, I didn't cheat. No. My car was pretty slick. But it was a lot of fun. I had a good time with the kids, and they had a lot of fun, so. With that, I don't have anything else, so a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Motion is our second. Everybody in favor? Everybody opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.